The wind on Yalor 7 howled like a wounded animal. Sharp dust blew across the broken rocks. The sky was gray, and the sun was hidden behind thick clouds. It was a dead place, once used for war, now forgotten. Ryan Hale, a human scavenger, walked, alone across the wasteland. His boots were worn, his coat was torn, his gun, old but loaded, hung at his side. He wasn't here for a fight. He was looking for scraps, metal, wires, fuel, anything left behind that he could sell. But what he found was not what he expected. Ryan spotted an old bunker entrance buried under rocks. The door was half open. Most would have ignored it, but scavengers didn't survive by walking away from shadows. He stepped inside. The air was stale. The walls were cracked. Old lights flickered, trying to come alive after years of silence. Rion turned on his torch and followed the narrow hallway. Then he heard it. A sound. Faint. Soft, like a whimper. He stopped. Another sound. Chains. And breathing. He found a heavy door at the end of the hall. Rusted. Locked with a weak panel. He scanned it. Old code. He hacked it in under 2 minutes. The door slid open slowly, and inside was her. She sat curled in a corner, thin and shaking. Her skin was pale blue. Her long hair was tangled. Her eyes glowed faintly, bright violet, wide with fear. She wore a torn cloth around her body and metal cuffs on her ankles. A collar blinked on her neck. She looked up at Rian and whispered something in a broken voice, "Just make it quick." Ryan froze. He didn't raise his gun. He didn't speak. He just stared. She looked so afraid, like she had seen monsters before. Like she thought he was one too. Ryan slowly set his weapon on the floor. He raised both hands. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "I didn't know anyone was here." The girl didn't believe him. Her body stayed tight, ready for pain. He reached into his pack and pulled out a water pouch. "I don't know if this works for your kind, but you need something." He placed it on the floor and stepped back. She stared at it, then at him, then crawled forward slowly and drank. Tears fell from her eyes as she did. Ryan knelt beside her cage. The bars were bent, but strong. "Who did this to you?" She didn't answer. She just looked at him and asked, voice shaking, "You're not going to eat me?" Ryan blinked. "What?" "They said humans eat aliens, especially rare ones like me. They told me I'd be sold to a hunter tribe. I've been waiting." She looked down. For teeth. Ryan felt his stomach twist. Whoever put her here didn't just trap her, they broke her inside. He stood up and scanned the lock. "I don't know who told you that, but I'm not them." He started cutting the cage wires. She didn't move. Not until the door fell open with a snap. She crawled forward, unsure. Ryan helped her up gently. She flinched at first, but didn't pull away. They walked slowly out of the bunker together. The sun was starting to break through the clouds. Ryan made a small fire near a rock wall and handed her a ration bar. She sniffed it, then bit gently. Her hands were shaking. After a while, she looked at him again. "You really aren't going to hurt me?" "No," he said. "I'm not." "Why?" He looked into her glowing eyes. "Because you looked at me like I was going to kill you, and I couldn't live with that." She said her name was Valea. That night she fell asleep near the fire, wrapped in Rion's spare blanket. He didn't sleep much. He just watched the fire and thought about the girl in the cage and who would come back looking for her. The sky over Yalor 7 turned orange the next morning. The wind had calmed and the silence of the wasteland returned. Ryan Hale stirred the fire with a stick. Beside him, Valea slept wrapped in his extra blanket, her knees tucked into her chest like a scared child. She hadn't spoken since last night. He didn't blame her. When she finally opened her eyes, she sat up fast, looking around, gasping like she had forgotten where she was. Then, she saw Ryan, still there, still calm, still not a monster. He offered her a cup of warm broth. She hesitated, then took it with slow fingers. They sat in quiet. Ryan didn't ask anything, he just waited. After her third sip, she finally whispered, "You don't want to know what I am? I figured you'd tell me if you wanted to." She blinked, surprised, so she said it. "My name is Valia. I'm from the Sarathi Moons. I was a scout, trained in maps, weather, and translation." She looked down at the cup. "I was captured on a supply mission. Pirates sold me. The buyers wanted rare species. They said I'd fetch a high price." Ryan listened. "They threw me in that bunker and told me I'd be picked up by someone rich or hungry or both." Ryan's jaw tightened. He'd heard stories like this, but never from someone sitting right beside him. "I was in there for 19 days, she continued, counting with rocks. He looked at her. "Why didn't they just kill you?" She gave a bitter smile. "They said, meat sells better when it's still breathing." The fire cracked between them. Ryan stood and walked toward his bag. He pulled out a small solar beacon, half broken. "I can try to fix this," he said. "If we send a signal, maybe someone will hear us." Valia's eyes widened. "No," she said fast, "don't." "Why?" "They'll find me." "You mean the slavers?" She nodded. "They check old systems for active signals. If they see one, they'll come back, or worse, send others." Rion frowned. He placed the beacon back in the bag. "Then we stay quiet," he said. "At least until you're strong enough to move." Later, Ryan was fixing a cracked drone casing near the cave wall. Valia sat on a rock nearby, watching him work. The wind played with her hair. "Your hands," she said softly. "They're steady." Ryan looked up. "Used to be a field tech, in the war. Then a miner. Now just a scrapper." She tilted her head. "You're not like the others." "Which others?" "The humans I was told about. Loud, greedy, always hungry." He smiled. "Well, I do eat a lot, but not aliens." She laughed just once and covered her mouth like it was a mistake. That night, as the stars came out, Valia stared at them in silence. She sat beside Ryan at the fire, closer than before. After a while, she asked, "Why didn't you walk away when you saw me in the cage?" Ryan thought for a moment, then answered quietly, "Because I saw your eyes." She blinked. "What about them?" "They didn't look like an animal's." She didn't speak again that night, but she didn't move away when he sat beside her. And when the fire burned low, she leaned gently against his side. Not because she was cold, because she felt something she hadn't known in a long time. Safe. Far, above them, on a rocky ridge, a small black drone hovered in the dark. Its red lens blinked, then vanished into the wind. The next few days passed quietly. Valia grew stronger with each morning. She ate more, slept longer, and limped less. The blue in her skin returned. Her eyes didn't always look afraid anymore. Ryan Hale fixed gear, cooked meals, and spoke little. But she stayed close, and he didn't mind. One morning, Valia found him cleaning old energy cells under the rising sun. She tilted her head. "Why do you always work?" He looked up. "Because resting makes me think." "Think about what?" "Things I can't change." She sat beside him and said, "Then maybe you should think about things you can." He paused, then smiled a little. Later that day, Ryan showed her how to use his emergency fire starter kit. She laughed when it sparked in her hands. "Feels like magic." "It's just science with confidence," he said. That night, they built a campfire together, her first real one. They sat beside it as the heat pushed back the cold. Valia looked into the flames. "I never thought I'd see a fire like this. Again, not outside a cage." "You're not in a cage anymore," Ryan said softly. She looked at him. "I know. That's what scares me." Before he could reply, a light streaked across the sky. Not a shooting star. A flare. Bright. Orange. From the west, Ryan stood fast. That's not natural. Valea stood too, her body tense. Signal? He nodded. Someone's looking. Her hands shook. For me. Ryan grabbed his scope and climbed a nearby ridge. From the top he spotted it, a small campfire far in the distance, and beside it, a silver drone with a blinking red eye. They're close, he whispered. Too close. Back at their camp, Ryan packed the fire tight with ash. No more light, no more noise. We go deeper into the rocks. Valea's voice trembled. What, if they catch us? Ryan checked his blaster. They won't. She stepped forward. This is my fault. He met her eyes. It's not. I'm the one they're hunting. But I'm the one standing with you. She blinked, and for the first time, reached out and gently touched his hand. They found a small cave between the cliffs, half hidden, under hanging vines. Inside, Ryan set up heat stones and covered the entrance. It was tight, but safe. They sat close together in the dark, listening, breathing, waiting. Valea whispered, "If you had left me that first day, none of this would have happened to you." Ryan chuckled quietly. "If I'd left you, I wouldn't be here." "And that's a good thing?" "It is now." She turned toward him. "Back home," she said, "we had a word, Athela. It means one who shields another even when they don't have to." He looked into her glowing violet eyes. "I guess I'm your Athela then." She nodded slowly. "You are." They didn't kiss. They didn't promise. But in the stillness of that cave, something stronger than words formed. Not romance, not protection. Bond. Far away, a transmission left the drone's body. Target found. Location locked. The voice on the other end replied, "Send the team. Full extraction." The morning was too still. Even the wind had stopped whispering. Inside the narrow stone cave, Valea sat near the wall, her knees pulled up to her chest. Ryan Hale stood by the entrance, one eye on the rocky path outside, the other on his tracker. "Movement," he said. 3, maybe 4 life forms, coming fast. Valea's heart thudded in her chest. "They found me," she whispered. "No," Ryan said. "They found us." Far across the ridge, a dark ship landed quietly, half hidden under the rock's shadow. 3 slavers stepped out. Each wore black armor with red markings. No faces, only masks. One of them, a tall one with silver shoulder pads, spoke in a deep, dry voice. "Signal came from here. The Sarathi female was seen traveling with a human. Orders are clear. Bring her back. Kill him." They began to march. Back at the cave, Ryan handed Valea a small device. "What is it?" she asked. "Flash beacon. Press it, and it'll blind anything with tech eyes." "What are you going to do?" Ryan checked his old blaster. "I'm going to make them wish they'd stayed in orbit." She grabbed his arm. "You can't fight all of them." "I don't need to win," he said. "I just need to keep you free." Valea's throat tightened. "You're not supposed to care this much." Ryan looked into her glowing eyes. "Well," he said with a tired smile, "you're not just some thing to me anymore." The first blast hit the ground just outside the cave. Rocks exploded. Ryan pushed Valea deeper inside. "Go to the back. If they get in, run." "And you?" he smirked. "I'm hard to kill." One of the slavers climbed the ridge, scanning the rocks with an energy rifle. He paused. A trap wire snapped at his feet. Boom! Ryan's old mining charge exploded, knocking the slaver off the ledge. 2 left. They rushed the cave. Ryan fired twice, hitting one in the shoulder. The second dove and returned fire, grazing Ryan's leg. He gritted his teeth, rolled to cover, and fired again, straight through the attacker's visor. The mask cracked. The slaver fell, but the last one got inside. Tall, heavy, fast. He spotted Valea behind a rock. She raised the flash beacon. The slaver laughed. "That won't help you." She pressed it. A burst of white light filled the cave. The slaver screamed, clutching his mask. Ryan crawled forward bleeding and shot him once in the chest. Silence returned. Valia dropped the beacon and rushed to Ryan. He was on one knee, breath shallow. "You're bleeding." "Yeah, hurts a bit." She tore fabric from her sleeve and pressed it to the wound. "You shouldn't have fought them." "I told you," he whispered. "I don't leave people behind." She touched his cheek. "No one ever fought for me. Before." They dragged the bodies outside, dumped them in the rocks, and buried the flash devices nearby. Ryan burned the masks. "No trackers left," he said. "But they'll notice when their crew doesn't check in." "How long do we have?" Few days, maybe less." That night they sat together near a small hidden fire. Valia stared at the flames. "I wanted to run when I saw that ship." Ryan nodded. "You didn't." She looked at him. "Because you didn't either." They didn't speak for a while. Then Rayan broke the silence. "Valia." "Yes?" "If you want to leave, go somewhere safe. I won't stop you." She turned to him slowly. "I'm not going anywhere." She reached out and took his hand. The cave was quiet again. Too quiet. Valia sat near the edge of the firelight, turning a small rock over in her hands. She wasn't trembling anymore, but her thoughts were loud inside her chest. Ryan Hale slept a few feet away, wrapped in a blanket, breathing slow. His leg was still healing. His face was bruised, but he was alive, because of her, because of both of them. She looked at him, the way his arms were crossed, the way his jaw was tight even in sleep. He didn't look like a hero. He looked tired, but he never ran, not even when he should have. When he stirred awake, she moved closer. "I was trained to run from people like you," she said quietly. He blinked. "Good morning to you too." "I mean it," she added. "On my world, they told us humans were brutal, violent, cold. They said you only cared about conquest." Ryan leaned on his elbow. "And what do you think now?" She didn't answer right away, then said, "You care." "That's not conquest?" "No. That's the part that confuses me." He sat up, wincing slightly. "Maybe we're both more than what they told us we'd be." Valia smiled, but it faded quickly. "Back in the bunker," she said. "When I saw your face, I thought you were death." Ryan nodded slowly. "And now?" She stared at him. "I think you're the first person who's ever seen me." He tilted his head. "Seen you how?" "As something alive. Not cargo. Not a problem. Not a price." She looked down. "I've been caged more than once. Some of the chains were real. Others were in my mind." Ryan leaned closer. "You're free now, Valia. Even in here." He pointed to her temple. "You don't have to wear those chains." She whispered, "Then why am I still scared?" "Because being free is harder than being trapped. When you're trapped, someone else makes the rules. When you're free, you have to choose." She looked at him. "And what did you choose?" He shrugged. "To help someone. To care. Even when it hurts." The fire crackled. A light breeze blew into the cave. Valia shifted closer and placed her hand over his. "You didn't choose the easy path," she said. "Neither did you." He replied. She looked at him for a long moment, then quietly asked, "Can I stay?" "You already are. I mean after this. After the hunters. After the hiding." Ryan looked at her. "You can stay as long as you want." They sat side by side in silence. But this time, it was full of warmth. Valia leaned her head on his shoulder. Not from fear, but because she wanted to. Far outside, the wind moved across the rocks, carrying dust and silence. But above the clouds, a larger ship had already arrived, not just slavers now, buyers. Watching, waiting, preparing to collect what they thought still belonged to them. The sky over Yalor 7 turned black by noon. Clouds rolled like smoke, thick and silent. Ryan Hale stood at the cliff edge watching them. His leg still hurt, but he was standing. Behind him, Valia checked the small tools, wires, and broken tech pieces they had left. Her fingers moved quickly, more confident than before. "They're not slavers this time," Ryan said. She looked up. "No," she replied. "They're worse." A large ship had entered low orbit, not like the others. This one was armored, branded, and clean. Not hunters, not thugs. Collectors. They weren't coming to chase her. They were coming to take her, like they owned her, and they brought weapons. "We can still run," Ryan said. Valia shook her head. "No more running." He looked at her, surprised. Her eyes were steady, calm. "Every time I ran, someone else got hurt. But not this time." She stood and walked toward him. "This time, we fight. Like humans." Ryan smirked. "That's a dangerous compliment." She smiled. "I meant it." That evening, they got to work. They set traps using old mining wire, power cells, and broken drones. Valia built a shock grid from a salvaged circuit core and a stun baton. Ryan modified his blaster, boosting it with a charge coil. They worked in sync, quiet, focused, like a team, like something more. Before the sun dipped below the rocks, the first drop pod landed with a thud. Out came 4 armored collectors, tall and cruel-looking. One scanned the canyon. "Target is near, the Sarathi female. Orders are to retrieve her alive. Eliminate the human." From the shadows, Valia pressed a button. Boom. The first trap snapped, sending a shock pulse across the ridge. 2 collectors dropped, twitching. The others returned fire blindly. Ryan moved in, took the high ground, and fired a single shot, straight into one's power pack. Explosion. Only one remained. He rushed Valia's side of the canyon. She stood still, waiting. As he aimed his weapon, she raised a modified blaster she had built herself. One clean shot to the chest. The collector dropped. Valia didn't blink. Ryan jogged down, breathing heavy. "You good?" he asked. Valia looked down at her hands, steady and strong. "I'm more than good." The fight wasn't over. The main ship began descending now, too large for a canyon. "Big boss is coming," Ryan said. "Probably with a personal escort." Valia turned to him. "Then we finish this together." The ship landed with thunder. From it stepped a tall figure in black and gold armor. Cold eyes, pale face, a cruel smile. "Valia of Sarathi," he said, voice like glass. "Return now, or we burn this place to ash." She stepped forward. "No. You were made to serve." "Not anymore." He raised his hand. "Then die." Before he could shoot, Ryan activated a remote charge, shaking the ship and knocking the guards down. Valia used the distraction. She leapt forward and punched a shock needle into the commander's chest. He screamed and dropped. She stood over him. "You don't own me," then turned. Awake, Ryan limped over, smirking. That was impressive. She offered him her arm. "You taught me." "No," he said. "You were always strong. I just reminded you." They watched as the damaged ship lifted off, retreating into orbit, not destroyed, but beaten, and no longer hunting. That night, they sat under a starless sky, tired, bleeding, alive. Valia looked at Ryan. "You fight like a human," she said. "So do you." She leaned her head on his shoulder. And for the first time, they didn't feel hunted. They felt home. The next morning, the sun finally broke through the clouds of Yalor 7. Not orange, not red, just golden, soft, and warm. It touched the rocks gently, like the planet was trying to say, "You made it." Valia sat on the cliff's edge, her knees folded, her hair blowing lightly in the breeze. Her eyes weren't scanning for danger anymore, she was just watching. Behind her, Ryan Hale limped slowly with 2 cups of warmed ration tea. "I still don't understand how you drink this stuff," he joked, handing her one. She smiled. After everything I've swallowed in cages, this is delicious. They sat side by side in the light. Silence passed between them, but it was a safe silence. No fear, no escape plans, just air and warmth and each other. You could leave now, Ryan said after a while. Valea blinked. What? You're free. You could call the Sarathi fleet, go home. Leave this dusty rock and start over. She was quiet. Then she said, I already started over. He looked at her. You're sure? Valea turned toward him, her face calm and steady. I was given away, sold, hunted, locked in a cage. I've been passed from hand to hand my whole life. She reached for his hand. But you never held me like I was property. You stood beside me. You bled for me. She smiled softly. That's not something I walk away from. They spent the next few days rebuilding the camp, no longer hiding, but building with purpose. Valea planted native seeds along the rock walls. Rion repaired an old comm tower, not to call for help but to track weather and record stories. They carved a mark into the cave wall, 2 lines crossing, one for her, one for him, both standing. One evening, as stars returned to the sky, Rian asked, What do you think freedom really means? Valea didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, It means waking up and knowing I'm safe. Not because someone locked the door, but because someone stands in front of it. He nodded. Then I'll keep standing. She looked at him. Not alone. Sometime later, a ship passed high above the atmosphere, one of the long-range survey vessels that map forgotten planets. It detected signs of life. 2 heat signatures, 1 human, 1 Sarathi. Together, the data was logged and ignored. Just another story on another quiet world. But if they had looked closer, they'd have seen a fire, a shelter, 2 people sitting side by side, no longer strangers, no longer afraid. Final scene. Valea placed her hand on the cave wall beside the carved lines. I used to believe freedom meant being alone, she said. Rion stepped beside her. But now? She turned and smiled. Now I know. Freedom is choosing who you stay with, when you don't have to stay at all.